Hey there and welcome. I'm so glad you're here, tuning in to Think Like a Great. The place where we dive deep into what it means to grow, evolve, and unlock our true potential. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had one of those days where everything just clicks? You wake up energized, dive into your work, and time flies. You're focused, intentional, and by the end of the day, not only have you accomplished something important, but you feel completely fulfilled. No burnout, no stress, just a quiet, powerful joy. Or maybe you're reading a book you love. Hours pass and you don't even notice. The world fades away. It's just you and the page, and when you finally stop, you feel better somehow, more alive. That feeling. That's called flow, a term coined by legendary psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He defines flow as a state of complete immersion in what you're doing. Your mind and body move in sync. Every thought, every motion, effortless, fluid. You lose track of time. You lose sense of yourself. And in return, you meet your most capable, most brilliant self. This isn't just about performance. Flow is the gateway to meaning. When you tap into it, life feels fuller. Your potential unfolds. You're not just checking boxes. You're growing, evolving, becoming. If personal growth matters to you, and I believe it does, then this concept of flow is something you can't afford to overlook. Stick around. Let's explore how to find it, how to harness it, and how to make it part of your daily life. Because the best version of you, it's already in there. Flow just brings it out. Part 1. Why revisit flow? You might be thinking, wait a minute, haven't we talked about this before? Didn't this book already get a feature on the channel? And you're absolutely right. We have talked about flow before. But here's the thing. This episode, this conversation, it's different. And it's important. Because sometimes a concept is just too transformative, too powerful to only mention once and move on. Flow isn't just another feel-good productivity term. It's not a trendy buzzword or a fleeting idea that gets tossed around in self-help circles. Flow is a state of being, a gateway, and for many of us, it might just be the most underused key to unlocking not only peak performance, but real, lasting fulfillment. So, why come back to this now? There are two big reasons I felt this message needed to be revisited and expanded in a way that makes it more real, more usable, more human. Reason Chatrawan, you asked for more. After the original video on flow, something interesting happened. Many of you wrote in through comments, emails, DMs, all echoing the same thing. That was inspiring, but how do I apply it? I've felt that state before, but I don't know how to get back there. Can you go deeper? Can you break it down in a way I can use daily? And I get it. Inspiration is wonderful, but without implementation, it fades. You wanted something deeper, something you could take into your everyday life. Whether you're managing a team, raising a family, building a side hustle, or just trying to stay afloat in this noisy world. That's why I'm not just repeating the old message today. I'm reimagining it. This version goes beyond explanation. This one is about transformation, about application, about you. Reason number 2, flow is timeless. The second reason is that flow itself, the book, the concept, the science, is not just good. It's foundational. Written by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, one of the most respected psychologists of the 20th century, flow isn't just a great read. It's the culmination of a lifetime of groundbreaking research into human consciousness, fulfillment, and performance. This book doesn't age. In fact, it gets better with time, as your own understanding of life deepens. You don't read flow once and move on. You return to it, the way you return to a compass. Because that's what it is, a compass for navigating a distracted, fragmented world. And today, that's exactly what we need. More than ever, we're battling burnout, information overload, and chronic distraction. Our minds are scattered. Our souls are weary. Our attention is constantly hijacked. In that chaos, flow offers something profound. A return to presence. To focus, to meaning. Let's be honest for a second. When I first talked about flow on this channel, the setup was simple. The message was there, but it was short, the audio was raw, and we were still figuring out how to build this space together. But even then, I knew we were touching something special. That first video was about how to truly be happy. A beautiful, important question. But happiness is a byproduct. It's a result, not a destination. Now, I want to take us a level deeper, because it turns out the real magic isn't in chasing happiness. It's in growing. It's in engaging. It's in entering the experience so fully that happiness emerges on its own. Not because you forced it, but because you earned it. That's what flow offers. So, what exactly is flow? Let's quickly revisit the definition, just to ground ourselves. Flow is a term coined by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi to describe a state of complete absorption. When you're so engaged in a task that time disappears, self-consciousness fades, and every move you make feels smooth, connected, right. It's the feeling. An athlete gets in the middle of the perfect game. It's what an artist experiences during a painting that seems to paint itself. It's what you feel when you're writing, coding, building, solving. And suddenly hours have gone by and it felt like minutes, and most importantly, flow doesn't just feel good. It makes you better, sharper, stronger, more alive. Why flow? It matters now, more than ever. Here's the hard truth. We live in a world that is actively working against flow. Apps are designed to steal your attention. News cycles are engineered to provoke emotional fatigue. The pace of modern life encourages multitasking, half-listening, shallow engagement. And what gets lost in that chaos? Depth, clarity, connection, joy. That's why flow is not just a concept we revisit, it's a discipline we train. It's a state of mind, yes, but also a habit of how we work, think, move, and live. This episode is here to help you reclaim that. Whether you're overwhelmed, scattered, stuck in a rut, or just hungry to grow in a more meaningful way, flow is your path forward, what this new series will give you. So here's what to expect in this new, extended series on flow. We're going to break it down. What are the conditions required to enter flow? Why does it matter neurologically, emotionally, and spiritually? How can you create environments, both inner and outer, that support flow? What role does mindfulness play? What kills flow? And how can you protect against it? How can ordinary people build extraordinary momentum through daily immersion? This won't be about theory, it'll be about practice. And we'll walk through real stories, real science, and real strategies that work. From CEOs to artists, teachers to entrepreneurs, students to parents. Because flow isn't just for high performers, it's for humans. And you're one of them. Let's begin again, with more intention this time. So today I invite you to settle in, put down your multitasking for a moment. Give yourself the gift of full attention. Because what we're about to explore can, and will, change how you live, work, and connect. Welcome to this renewed journey into flow. The title of this expanded version? The Fastest Way to Upgrade Yourself Through the Masterpiece of Modern Psychology. Flow. Let's begin. Part 2. The Doorway of Focus and the Return to Your True Self. Let's begin with a simple story, one that speaks volumes. In his groundbreaking research on human fulfillment, psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi shares the example of two factory workers. These two individuals work side by side on the very same assembly line, doing the same repetitive task day after day. But their experiences? They couldn't be more different. The first worker finds the job utterly soul-crushing. He shows up each day, but his mind is elsewhere. Thinking about a broken appliance at home, stressing over car trouble, or replaying the latest piece of workplace gossip. He struggles to keep up with the pace. He gets reprimanded. His paycheck suffers. But even more importantly, his sense of self-worth suffers. Work feels meaningless, exhausting, and heavy. Now, the second worker? He's different. He does the same job, but he brings a completely different mindset. Rather than checking out, he checks in. Instead of drifting through the day, he locks in. He sets a goal for himself, to complete each unit just a little faster, a little better. It typically takes 43 seconds to assemble a part, but he challenges himself. He eliminates distractions. He focuses intensely. Day by day, his timing improves. Eventually, he brings it down to 28 seconds, and not because he was pressured, but because he was engaged. His efforts are noticed, he earns recognition, and more importantly, he feels proud. His work becomes meaningful, even joyful. Now pause here for a moment. Same job, same environment, same tools. What made the difference? Focus. Focus is what allowed the second worker to tap into flow, that powerful state of being where we feel fully present, fully alive, and deeply immersed in what we're doing. He wasn't just doing his job, he was experiencing it, mastering it. The first worker, on the other hand, couldn't break through the noise in his mind. He was there physically, but mentally, emotionally. He was somewhere else. And this isn't just a story about factory workers. It's about all of us. Every single one of us has moments where we're either present or checked out. We either engage or we escape. Focus isn't just a productivity tool. It's a gateway to meaning, to growth, and ultimately to our true selves. When we reclaim our attention, we reclaim our lives. Part 3, what focus really means. There's a quote that's been living rent-free in my mind for a while now. It's from Russian educator Konstantin Ushinsky. Focus is the only door to our soul. Everything within your consciousness must pass through it to go deeper. Let that settle for a second. We often think of focus as just a tool to help us work faster, check more boxes, or avoid distractions. But it's so much more than that. Focus is access. Access to your thoughts. Access to your creativity. Access to the part of you that actually knows who you are and what you want. Without focus, that part of you stays buried under noise. You lose touch with your internal compass. Your clarity fades. You feel overwhelmed, unsure, reactive, like you're just going through the motions rather than truly steering the ship. The science of scattered attention, modern research, backs this up in a profound way. Psychologists call it psychic entropy, a mental state where disorder takes over the mind. Here's how it happens. Every time you multitask, every time you switch from one app to another, or skim 3 different things without truly absorbing any of them, your brain starts to splinter. Thoughts lose their shape. You stop finishing sentences in your head. You start things but don't end them. Your mental energy is pulled in 5 directions, and none of them lead anywhere meaningful. Over time, this doesn't just affect your productivity, it affects your sense of self. You start to wonder, why do I feel so disconnected? Why can't I focus anymore? Why do I feel so tired, even when I've done nothing deeply engaging? It's not burnout, it's not laziness, it's entropy. It's a lack of coherence inside your mind. Flow is the antidote, so what's the solution? It's not just about cutting distractions or turning off your phone, although those help. It's about training your mind to enter flow more consistently, that state of full immersion, where time disappears, where you're both challenged and empowered, and where everything feels aligned. When you're in flow, your mind becomes ordered again. Thoughts connect, Ideas form, energy builds, there's momentum, there's meaning, and most importantly, there's you, the real you, the you that exists underneath the noise, underneath the scrolling, underneath the constant mental tab switching. Reclaiming. Your inner order focus, then, isn't just about doing more. It's about being more present, more intentional, more rooted. When you protect your attention, you're not just getting more done, you're restoring your inner architecture. And that's where growth begins. That's where insight is born. That's where your best ideas, best performance, and best version of yourself come to life. So here's the truth. If you've been feeling scattered, unmotivated, or unclear, it doesn't mean you've lost your edge. It means your mind has been in a constant state of fragmentation. And the way back is to refocus, to reconnect, to reclaim the doorway, the one that leads straight into the center of who you are. Part 4. The essential ingredient, complete. Focus. So, how do you actually enter a flow state? What's the key that unlocks that door? It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even passion, it's complete focus, not partial focus. Not, I'm working but also checking my notifications. Not, I'm halfway in and halfway out. I'm talking about full intentional presence. What I like to call intentional immersion. The ability to bring all of yourself into one task, one moment, one effort, with no distractions pulling at the edges. When you train yourself to show up this way, something powerful happens. It's almost like life begins to cooperate with you. The noise starts to fade. The mental fog begins to clear. Problems that once felt overwhelming start to feel solvable, and something even more magical. You meet a version of yourself you might not have seen in a long time. The focused you, the capable you. The you that's not scattered or stuck in self-doubt, but fully alive, fully engaged. You don't just become more productive. You become more centered, more at peace, more in control of your time, your energy, and your outcomes. That's the power of complete focus. It's not a skill reserved for monks or high-performance athletes. It's available to all of us. But it takes practice. It takes intention. And when you learn how to drop into that focused state on demand, you stop reacting to life and start creating it. Part 5. The 4 focus strategies. I've studied focus deeply over the years, and I've applied it across work, learning, and creativity. If you're familiar with Deep Work by Cal Newport, you'll recognize these 4 powerful strategies that help build sustained attention. Rhythmic strategy: create a fixed daily schedule for deep work. Example: 90 minutes every morning with no distractions, no phone, no email. If any distracting thought arises, write it down and promise to revisit it later too. Bimodal strategy: alternate between focused and unfocused days. Example: use 4 days for high concentration tasks and 3 days for admin or lighter duties. Monastic strategy: eliminate all distractions entirely, like a monk. Ideal for creative professionals who need solitude to produce their best work. Journalist strategy: learn to switch into deep focus anytime, anywhere, regardless of your environment. This is the hardest to master, but also the most valuable. This last strategy changed my life. I used to rely on silence to concentrate. I needed a perfect corner, no noise, no interruptions. But life isn't always that convenient. When I transitioned into a busier environment, juggling school, work, and content creation, I had to learn to focus on demand. Part 6. The power of mindfulness. So how did I do it? How did I train my mind to enter flow more consistently, even in the middle of chaos? The answer is just one word: mindfulness. Now I know mindfulness is one of those words that gets thrown around a lot these days. You see it on wellness blogs, Instagram posts, and in meditation apps. But let's set aside the hype for a moment and get back to what mindfulness actually means, and why it's so essential if you want to live a focused, fulfilling life. At its core, mindfulness is the practice of bringing your full attention to the present moment. It's being here now, fully, with whatever you're doing, whether you're eating a meal, walking down the street, brushing your teeth, writing an email, or just sitting in silence. Mindfulness means you're in it. You're not drifting. You're not reaching for the next thing. You're not lost in thought or scanning your phone for distractions. You are present. You are aware. You are alive to the moment, and let me tell you, that one shift changes everything. My journey into mindfulness, I didn't always live this way. In fact, for a long time, I was the opposite of mindful. I was distracted, always multitasking, always in trying to get ahead. I thought being busy was the same as being effective. And like many people, I believed that slowing down meant falling behind. But that belief wasn't serving me. It left me drained, disconnected, wired but tired, accomplished but unfulfilled. That's when I discovered the teachings of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese monk, poet, peace activist, and one of the most influential spiritual leaders of our time. His words stopped me in my tracks. He didn't talk about escaping to a mountaintop. He didn't tell me to give up my work or abandon my goals. He simply invited me, and anyone who's willing to listen, to return to the present moment. Drink your tea slowly and reverently, as if it is the axis on which the earth revolves. Slowly, evenly, without rushing toward the future. Thich Nhat Hanh, that quote changed something in me. Mindfulness as daily practice. I started reading more of his books. I began integrating mindfulness into my daily life, not in big, dramatic ways, but in small, steady acts of attention. I practiced mindful walking, noticing the feeling of the ground beneath my feet. Practiced mindful eating, putting away my phone and actually tasting my food. I practiced mindful working, opening just one tab at a time and pouring all my energy into a single task. And slowly, something incredible started to happen. I stopped reacting to everything. I stopped living in a constant state of urgency, jumping from one thing to the next. Instead, I started responding, with awareness, with calm, with intention. And that's when flow started to find me. Why mindfulness? Makes flow easier, here's the connection. Flow requires focus, and mindfulness is the training ground for that focus. When your brain is used to being present, when your nervous system isn't constantly being hijacked by alerts and impulses, you develop a baseline of calm awareness. You're no longer a slave to every thought or emotion that passes through. You can sit still, you can stay with discomfort, you can hold your attention when others can't. And in that space, that stillness, flow emerges, because flow isn't about effort. It's not about force, it's about presence. It's the moment when your attention, your energy, and your action become one. Without friction, without resistance, without noise. That kind of alignment can't happen when you're fragmented. It can't happen when your mind is bouncing between apps and your body is stuck in tension. Mindfulness creates the conditions where flow can thrive. Every moment is a portal. One of the most powerful things I learned from Thich Nhat Hanh is this. Every moment is a chance to come home to yourself. You don't need a meditation cushion. You don't need incense or silence or a perfect environment. You don't even need extra time. All you need is willingness to show up fully to whatever is happening right now. Washing dishes? Be there. Tying your shoes? Be there. Waiting at a red light? Breathe. Come back. These moments are small, but they are sacred, because they retrain your mind to stop running from the present. And when you stop running, you start experiencing life again. That's the foundation of flow. You can start today if you've been feeling scattered lately. If your mind feels like a browser with 47 tabs open, you're not alone. We've all been there. But you don't have to stay there. You don't need to take a sabbatical. You don't need to change your career or move to a monastery. You just need to start paying attention. On purpose, in small ways, every single. Because when you learn to stay present in the mundane, you build the muscle to be powerful in the meaningful. And that's the real secret. Mindfulness doesn't take you out of your life. It brings you into your life. More deeply, more fully, more joyfully. So if you're asking, how do I find flow in a world full of distractions? The answer is simple. Start with mindfulness. Start with now. Part 7. From Chaos to Clarity. Breaking the cycle of mental noise. We live in the noisiest time in human history. From the second we wake up, our senses are under siege. Notifications pinging, emails piling up, headlines flashing, opinions pouring in from every direction. And that's all before we've even had our first sip of coffee. It's no wonder we feel scattered. It's no wonder we feel overwhelmed, distracted, drained, even when we haven't done anything physically demanding. And yet we ask ourselves the same questions over and over again. Why do I feel stuck? Why can't I finish anything? Why does my life feel off track, like it's running without me? Here's the truth. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're just overstimulated. Mental clutter is the real enemy. In all this overstimulation, we enter a state called mental clutter, or what psychologists refer to as cognitive overload. It's when your brain is juggling too many inputs at once. You're thinking about the meeting you just had, while worrying about the text you haven't replied to, while half listening to a podcast and mentally drafting your grocery list. Meanwhile, none of those things are getting done well. Nothing. It's completed. Everything feels cloudy. This kind of cognitive noise slowly drains your ability to focus, reflect, or make clear decisions. It's not just frustrating, it's exhausting, and what's worse, most of us don't even realize it's happening. We just keep moving, keep clicking, keep scrolling, hoping something will make us feel better. But more input isn't the solution. Clarity doesn't come from more stimulation. It comes from cutting through the noise. That's where flow enters. Flow brings you back to center. Flow isn't just a productivity tool, it's a psychological reset button. When you enter a flow state, the background noise of life fades. Your mind stops spinning. Your attention narrows, not in a restrictive way, but in a freeing way, like a camera lens finally snapping into focus. Suddenly, you're not juggling 10 things at once. You're fully present with one thing. And in that presence, you find clarity, energy, and movement forward. You don't need more time in your day, you need more presence in your time. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. One of the biggest myths that keeps people stuck is this idea. I'll focus when I have more time, more energy, a quieter space, a better schedule. But let's be real, those perfect conditions rarely show up. And even when they do, if your mind is conditioned to be distracted, you won't be able to use that quiet anyway. So, instead of waiting for ideal circumstances, train your mind to focus no matter the conditions. Because real clarity, the kind that cuts through chaos, doesn't come from the outside. It's built from the inside. Try micro moments of stillness. You don't need to overhaul your life to start clearing mental clutter. You just need to start small. Here's one simple, powerful practice. Mindful micro-immersion. The next time you eat, don't scroll. Just eat. The next time you walk, don't multitask. Just walk. The next time you're in line at the store, don't reach for your phone. Just be there. These moments may seem tiny, even insignificant, but they are mental training sessions. They strengthen your attention muscle. They rebuild your capacity for focus. And over time, they become your gateway back into flow. Because the path from chaos to clarity doesn't start with a dramatic breakthrough. It starts with a quiet return. To yourself, to the moment, to now. Part 8. Don't chase passion, train engagement. Instead, let's bust a myth that's been floating around the world of self-development for far too long. You can only enter flow when you're doing something you love. Sounds convincing, right? The dream job, the perfect project, the one thing you were born to do. It paints a picture of flow as this rare, golden state reserved only for artists, athletes, or entrepreneurs working on something that sets their soul on fire. But here's the truth. That idea is wrong, and it's keeping too many people stuck. Flow doesn't require a dream job. It doesn't demand passion, a purpose-driven startup, or a perfectly crafted lifestyle. Flow isn't picky. What it does require is this: presence-challenge alignment between your skill and the task at hand. That's it. Flow isn't about what you're doing, it's about how you're showing up to it. Engagement is the real gateway, one of the most powerful. Lessons you can learn in life is this: you don't have to love the task. You just have to engage with it fully. Because the moment you begin giving something your full attention, the moment you stop resisting and start immersing, that's when meaning starts to unfold. That's when joy sneaks in from the edges. That's when you enter the state of flow. Not because the task was glamorous, but because you were present. And if you train yourself to do this consistently, something even more powerful begins to happen. You start finding joy in unexpected places. You stop relying on motivation and start leaning on momentum. A story of reclaiming aliveness. Let me share one of my favorite stories from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's research. It's not about a CEO or an athlete or an artist. It's about an elderly woman living alone after the death of her husband. Her children had grown up and moved away. The house was quiet. Too quiet. She was grieving. Lonely. The days felt heavy, still, and meaningless. Sound familiar? We've all had those seasons, where time seems to stand still, but not in a good way. Where the minutes stretch long and empty. Where joy feels like a foreign country we no longer have a passport to. But one day, she picked up an old book, then another, and another. Something stirred. She started writing, just thoughts in a journal. Then she began doodling, then planting, flowers, fixing things around the house, arranging books, watering plants, painting small signs for her garden. None of these activities were life-changing on the surface, but something life-changing was happening beneath the surface. She was no longer sitting in her sadness, waiting for purpose to arrive. She was engaging. And through that engagement, she slowly entered flow, again and again. She didn't find her purpose. She created it, one focused moment at a time. And in doing so, she didn't just fill her days. She reclaimed her aliveness. You don't need a dream job. You need to show up. So what's the lesson here? Stop waiting for the perfect job, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect wave of inspiration. That's not where flow lives. Flow lives in presence. Flow lives in doing the thing right in front of you with full attention. Whether that's making coffee, writing code, managing spreadsheets, folding laundry, or tending to a garden. The power doesn't come from the task. It comes from you. So next time you catch yourself saying, "This isn't my passion," or "I'll care more when I find the right thing," remember, you don't need the right thing to care. You just need to care about how you show up. Train. Engagement, not just excitement. Train presence, not just passion. Because when you learn to fully engage, everything changes. Not because the world suddenly becomes more interesting, but because you become more alive within it. Part 9. Redefining work. From grind to growth. Let's be honest. For most people, work feels like a grind. It's something we get through, something we survive, something we count down from. Just 3 more days until the weekend. Only 2 more weeks until vacation. But what if that mindset is costing us more than we realize? What if work isn't just a responsibility, but an opportunity? What if it could be your training ground for flow? Rethinking the purpose of work, we tend to compartmentalize our lives. We label some things as fun, others as necessary, and work. Well, that's often filed under must do. It's how you pay the bills, right? It's how you get by. But the truth is, most of us spend the majority of our waking hours at work. That's a huge portion of your life. If you're not finding fulfillment, presence, or purpose in your work, then you're missing a daily chance to access flow, to enter that state where you're fully immersed, fully alive, and fully aligned with what you're doing. Let's break it down. The 3 ingredients of flow, according to Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow occurs when 3 conditions are met. Clear goals. You know exactly what you're trying to achieve. Immediate feedback. You can see your progress as you go. Balance challenge. The task is difficult enough to stretch you, but not so difficult that it overwhelms you. Now ask yourself, do you set clear intentional goals for your workday, even small ones? Do you track your results in real time, or reflect on your wins and setbacks? Do you take on tasks that push you slightly outside your comfort zone? If you answered yes to any of these, congratulations. You're already halfway to flow, and once you start building these conditions into your work, even a little, something profound begins to shift. You stop dreading Mondays. You stop watching the clock. You stop feeling like your work is draining the life out of you. Instead, you become someone who uses work to grow, someone who brings intention, excellence, and even joy to the everyday. This is how ordinary people build extraordinary lives, not by quitting their jobs and moving to Bali, but by transforming their relationship with effort. Work becomes more than just a paycheck. It becomes a pathway to self-mastery. In Part 10, Flow and the Power of Solitude. Now let's end with something quieter, something deeper, something most of us avoid. Solitude. In today's hyper-connected world, being alone is almost taboo. We're trained to see solitude as loneliness, something to escape from, not something to embrace. But what if solitude is exactly what your soul has been asking for? Solitude isn't loneliness. Here's the key distinction. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the peace of being alone. In solitude, we strip away the noise. We peel back the layers of identity we've crafted for the world. And we come home, not to what others expect us to be, but to who we truly are. It's in solitude that we reflect. We heal. We remember. And perhaps most powerfully, it's in solitude that we discover flow without external validation. No likes. No applause. No one watching. Just the quiet act of being and doing on for its own sake. Solitude as a gateway to flow. If you can sit alone, no noise, no scrolling, no stimulation, and still feel whole, that's a superpower in today's world. Because when you're always surrounded by input, you lose the ability to think independently. You start outsourcing your thoughts, your attention, even your intuition. But in solitude, true intentional solitude, you regain clarity. You reconnect with your instincts. You return to your values. And when you pair that solitude with meaningful action, writing, gardening, crafting, meditating, something sacred happens. You enter flow. Not because someone is watching, not because it's productive, but because it's real. That is flow in its purest form. Creating sacred space in a loud world. So how do you begin? Start small. Take 5 minutes in the morning before checking your phone. Sit outside without a podcast. Write something just for yourself. Take a walk without needing it to burn calories. Breathe deeply and just be. Let those moments be enough, because in those spaces, those quiet, unsponsored, unfiltered moments, you remember who you are. And once you do, you realize that flow isn't something that happens out there. It happens in here, in the silence, in the effort, in the presence, in the now. Closing reflection. We chase so many things in life. Success, recognition, excitement, purpose. But maybe what we're really looking for is something much simpler. The feeling of being fully alive. Flow gives us that. Solitude helps us find the path. And work, when done with presence, becomes the practice ground. The question is, will you keep running toward the noise, or will you slow down, return to center, and let flow find you? The choice, as always, is yours. Closing thoughts? Flow is not a luxury. It's a path. We often think of flow as this rare, magical state, something reserved for elite athletes, top performers, or creative geniuses. But here's the truth. Flow is available to all of us. It lives in the present moment. It waits in the silence between distractions. It reveals itself when we stop chasing noise and start embracing now. Whether you're washing dishes or writing code, whether you're leading a team or walking alone in the park, flow is there, ready to meet you if you're willing to meet it. So here's my invitation to you. Start paying attention to the tasks that make you forget time. Start eliminating things that scatter your mind. Start showing up fully, intentionally, consistently, because when you do, you won't just be more productive. You'll be more fulfilled, more present, and more alive. Flow is not just how you do great work. It's how you live a great life.